Well, hello and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in small town USA. I'm your host, Allison Hassler with Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals.
And I'm Russell Williams. I'm director of Ethos, and we're a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development here in downtown Marion, Illinois. Welcome to the Citadel Building, historic building here on Tower Square Plaza, where we record this podcast. Hey, we want to thank you for tuning in. We also want to thank our sponsors for making this possible, and that includes Fowler Heating and Cooling, Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond RV and Harley Davidson, also Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals, and our producers at Union Street Arts.
And you can join the Small Town Big Business community wherever you listen to podcasts, including our Facebook page and YouTube. Well, I'd like to introduce our guest today. It is Rob Landis of Good Life Nutrition. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited about this interview.
I'm honored, Allison. Russ, thank you for having me.
Thank
Seriously.
you.
Yeah,
We're very excited. Tell us a little bit about Rob Landis, where you come from and how you got to this point.
Well, as we were just talking about, I am a lifelong resident of Marion, Illinois. Went away for a little bit for school and some other jobs, but have been back here. Spent time all around the square as a young person, double parking, going into Zwick's to get my kids' shoes to start school and grade school, going over to TVW to buy my first knit tie back in the 80s, depositing money in the savings and loan that was right here that was getting like 10% or something on the yield back then. Yeah. I graduated from Marion High School in 1985, did a little time in the U.S. Navy and got a free trip over to the Middle East during Desert Storm.
Wow.
So that's kind of the big picture. I have 3 kids. They're all grown. None of them live here. I'm going to have my first grandbaby in April. So
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Married to a school teacher here in Marion. She teaches for 20 years in the Unit 2.
You better
Loves it.
mention her name.
Jessica. She'd prefer me call her Jess. But yeah, Jess Landis, and I love her, and she's been so good to me over the last 32 years. I'm a Christ follower. That's the most important thing in my life. I want all things that I do to honor and glorify Him. Not successful at that all the time, but that helps me to be a better husband, dad, business owner, boss, well, you name it, citizen, right? My favorite quote, because I'm not a man of a lot of talent, but my dad modeled this for me, and I do this now. And the quote is that great works are accomplished not by strength, but by perseverance. That's Samuel Johnson. And I found that to be really true in my life, is that even when you have lesser skill, if you're willing to work diligently, that you can accomplish great things.
Awesome.
I love that.
Now, you're an entrepreneur, but you've not always been an entrepreneur. So before we talk about Good Life, what was your trade? What did you do?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll mention a mentor of mine, Jay Pardis, was a physical therapist at Marion Memorial Hospital when it was here on Main Street.
Okay.
And I was injured playing football when I was in high school. And I went to him for treatment my senior year, and I was like, this is incredible. Because I already loved the physique and the body and the musculoskeletal system. And then Mr. Pardis was helping me to recover from an injury. And so I was like, this would be a great way for me to express my interest. And so I became a physical therapist after trying to get into PT school 3 times, perseverance. And so just continue to retake classes to make my grades better to get into PT school. And so I practiced that for 25 years in various capacities before I came to own a business.
Wow. So when did that happen? What kind of time frame are we looking at?
As far as PT to business ownership? Yeah, this is a really neat story, Allison. So I really like physical therapy and enjoyed it. And you know, it's a very nicely paid job and great people you work with. It's a helping profession, so you get to help people. I love that part of it. I was visiting what was at the time Nature's Answer, which is a little health food store over here, just in front of Rural King, across the street from Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I was a customer. And as I was walking out, I told the owner, if you're ever interested in selling this, I'd really appreciate it if you'd let me know. And I left it at that. Walked out, went home, and about a month later, I was like, I'm going to write her a letter and let her know I was serious about this. So I wrote her a letter and said, hey, this is Rob again. I'm very interested. If you are ever wanting to sell this business, please let me know. And about a month later, she contacted me, and that's when that all started. So that at that point in time, I got to purchase Good Life, what I now call Good Life Nutrition Company.
Okay.
And how long ago was that?
I've owned it for 15 years now. The business has been in the same location for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you don't believe me, you can just look at the wood paneling in some areas, and it's 3/4 inches thick and sturdy. Yeah, it's from the 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So did you immediately transition to the ownership, and or did you continue with your PT occupation and have a little bit of time that you were doing both?
Yes. So the neat thing about this business is the manager had been there for 10 years. And her name is Marcia. She lives over near Stonefort. And Marcia was already managing the business. And it was a struggling business. Mm-hmm. And it would not have been able to support me and my family at the time because I was still had kids in school. And so I worked full-time as a physical therapist, and Marcia managed it. And I just kind of cast the vision, and we started growing that. After I'd been in the business for about 10 years, I was working for somebody. And through a series of business events, they had to close their business. And he said, I'm going to have to let you go, which not a big deal. Thankfully, as a physical therapist, there's jobs everywhere. But I was like, I'm going to see if I can kind of control my own destiny and see if this business can be my sole income. So that's when I transitioned over into working the business full time. And I didn't take a draw for the first 3 years. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like but my wife was willing to support and encourage me to do that because it was a dream of mine to do.
That's exciting.
But why? Why nutrition? Why nutrition health food store? What drove you? Because I'm also a class of 1985, and
85, best alive.
Yeah, but nutrition for athletes wasn't necessarily a thing in the 80s. So how did you transition into that? Because I know you've always been athletic.
So cool you said that. Actually, nutrition was a thing in the 80s. Mm-hmm. There was a book by Robert Hosk named Eat to Win.
Okay.
And I read it in high school. And so my buddy and I, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And of course, back then, fat was evil. It was all about eating carbs. I mean, it was rice cakes and I don't know. It was crazy, all the stuff we were eating. But we wanted to be healthy and do better in athletics. And so that's really what kind of started pushing me that way. As I got more and more, because I was raised, we ate fried gizzards and liver and everything was fried at my grandma's. And so that's kind of what I was raised on. And I didn't know any better. And after I read that book, I really got interested in nutrition, and I saw some benefits from it, as far as performance and strength. And so that's what really got me interested in nutrition, and that just grew and grew and grew over the years. And I have no formal training other than a few seminars as far as nutrition, but I just read profusely because I like it so much. It's really nice to be in an occupation where you don't feel like you're working.
Yeah.
And nutrition is that for me. So that's how I got interested in nutrition.
And then cycling too.
Yes. Yeah, I love cycling.
You've been big in cycling for quite a while.
Yeah, so that's a nice seg into... So 2007 is the year I got to buy Good Life Nutrition Company, and I call 2007 the year of the dream. So since about 5th grade, I'd wanted to own a retail store.
Okay.
And since high school, I'd always wanted to ride my bicycle across the country. Before I was 40 is what my written goal was. And I turned 40 and I hadn't done it. And I said, Jess, if I don't do this, I don't know if I'll ever do it. So I signed up and I did a ride across the country in 2007 as well. So I got to buy the business and ride my bicycle across the country in 2007.
Wow,
yeah.
That is a really big year.
It was the year of the dream. I mean, two of my dreams came true.
Yeah, it came to fruition. So how, compare and contrast with us, what changes you made when you purchased the building or purchased the company, and you said that it was kind of struggling and you were wanting to you did cast a vision for it to be what it is today, which every time I'm in there, there's always a crowd.
I'm so grateful for it too, Allison.
Yeah, so tell us how that's different now than what it was.
So the store initially was fairly low energy, meaning it was just real quiet and there wasn't any colorful displays up. There wasn't not advertisement about like a product, but just like nutritional advertisement and telling people how to be healthier. The shelves were pretty bare, and it didn't have a look like it was a place that there was a lot going on. And so the first thing we did is expand the inventory and then start changing some of the colors, which I need to do that again, and keep it updated. And then start doing staff training, which at first the staff was like 2 people.
Wow.
So those are the biggest changes that we made. And then later on, Nature's Answer just didn't resonate with me. And I was like, I want to change the name. And so a good friend of mine, Christina Katubik, helped so much to kind of help me to create a name that I would feel ownership, because I didn't feel like it was mine until I changed the name. And when I did that, it's kind of like when Adam was naming stuff. I'm sure, he's like, oh, you're an elephant and you're a giraffe. And there was like some ownership in that. And I felt like that whenever I got changed the name. And that's when it really started to take off for me, because then I felt more invested in it. Even when I wasn't working there full time, I was more invested in it as we changed the name. And then we had some branding that looked better, because before it was just like it was really real generic. And then, now every now and then I get asked if we are a franchise, because our logo is so cool. And I love the local individual who did that for us as well.
Yeah. I love the name Good Life. Is there any reason why you went with Good Life? I think it's very energetic.
There's a reason. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a scripture in John 10:10. Jesus said, I came to give life, and life more abundant, more full. And I thought, nutrition's not the whole thing, obviously, but it's a part of it. When you feel well physically, you can be more, you can achieve more of your potential spiritually, physical, and otherwise, right? I mean, if you're not ill, you can go to work. If you're feeling strong and healthy, you can invest in other people. And so that was why I wanted to call it Good Life Nutrition Company. And there were some crazy ones I had. I was going to call it Rob's Health Hut, and
that's a good one.
But then it was about me, and I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be, about a bigger picture than Rob Landis.
But your mission, vision, and values, I imagine you do have mission, vision, and values for this company.
I can articulate them, but they're not written down, which I'm sure one of your...
You're thinking core stuff, stuff that exists inside of you, right?
Yes.
But you were going to say, they're not written down.
No, so what are they? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, no, you're so passionate. And one of the questions is, what do you love about being a business owner? But what I see is like it comes from within. Like this is
absolutely,
this is who you are.
Yeah, this is an easy expression of myself for sure, to be in nutrition. If you were to say, Rob, here's a donut shop. Nope, nothing against donut shops, but here's a donut shop. You can make $1 million. I'm like, it just wouldn't do it for me. I mean, I would be thinking, here's your excess belly weight, and here's your diabetes, if I was selling donuts. And with what I'm doing, it's so fun and encouraging to be investing in people's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, it's not just because I'm doing a podcast with you. I really feel like that.
Yeah, you're like this every day.
You're the real McCoy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, I go up and down. I'm very an emotional person, so I'm not always like I am with you all. But yes, I feel this deeply, and I really do. I mean, one of our tags is Nourish Life. And so that's not just about supplements. And so our ladies are free to encourage people. They're free to pray with people. They're free to sit down and listen to people.
Yeah.
So we do that, frequently, because it's more than just about selling something.
So when you started this, and it was very much a passion project, did you find, wait a minute, this is hard?
No, it was simple from the beginning. The money just flew in. Yeah, that's the great thing about having now, 56 years. We've been doing this for 15 years and had some, the struggles of owning a business and having to adapt and change things. And we're still adapting, as you know. I mean, the pandemic was very transformative for us, and we saw a lot of our customers go online. So what do we do for that? How do we how do we stay relevant with them and stay in their mind? And so, we've tried to make some adaptations to that. We're doing curbside delivery. We do a lot more mail order now. We've changed our pricing structure so we're more relevant to the people who would prefer the lower prices of online but like to come to a local business. So we've changed the way that we buy things. Business is a continual adaptation. And my daughter is kind of followed in my footsteps. She has 2 master's degrees and uses neither one of them because she wanted to start her own business. She created her own thing. And it's so fun to watch her walk through that and then have a little bit of skin in the game as far as, I've got the bruises and scabs of the errors that I've made that I can hopefully help her to avoid some of those.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of those errors that you've made along the way and those challenges and how you've overcome them?
Okay, that one's going to take a little bit of thought, Allison. Yeah, I'm glad I got Luke over there. I should have been ready for that too, because that's what defines us, right? Errors help. We learn more from the errors than we do from the successes, and so I need to be focusing on that a little bit more.
But you know what? We can stop and come back to it if you want.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Let me chew
or
on
not
that.
answer at all.
Yeah,
you might
chew
get
on that
cut
a little
by
bit.
Luke. Yeah.
Well, I will jump ahead a little bit
Okay.
as far as the order goes here, but as an expert in your field with the nutrition, what advice would you give to listeners that are really kind of in the baby steps of understanding nutrition, and maybe going into Good Life would be overwhelming for them, and because there's so many options, there's so many supplements. What advice would you have for somebody that's starting that journey?
Right. The first piece of advice is completely irrelevant or not irrelevant, but is unrelated to nutrition. It's this: is life yard by yard, life is hard. But inch by inch, life's a cinch. How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
And nutrition, health, those are elephants. And people feel like things are continually changing, and they are. When I was raising up, fat was not good. I squeezed the oil out of my hamburgers and wouldn't eat fried food, but I'd eat an Archway fat-free cookie that had 20 grams of sugar in it. So the inch by inch is what's most important. Is I encourage people, let's pick one thing for you to start, out of this list that we'll talk about here in a second. Let's pick one thing and get some success, build some momentum, gain some confidence. That way we can go to the next thing. This is how it started for me. I remember when I went from ranch dressing to olive oil. That was a huge step. Now I wouldn't consider having anything else on my salad. But it was one step, and you just add those together, and before long, you've changed course, and you might be going this way, and inch by inch, it's like, whoa, now I'm going this way. So number one is stepping back, because this is the only body we get.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't cost money to buy organic, to eat fruits and vegetables, to get grass-fed, pastured meat, to take supplements. It's an investment. And it sounds like, oh, that's a great tagline for sales. No, it's the truth. Ask anybody that's ill.
Yeah.
If they would rather invest in themselves. So that's number one. Number two is food is information. We think of it as fuel primarily, or as pleasure, but it's also information. It turns on and off genes in our body that can improve health and longevity, or can degrade them. And so think about food as information. And of course, supplements, food supplements is what they're called, fit into that category. So those are really high up. The other thing, your grandma was right. Eat your vegetables. Don't spoil your supper with that snack. Replace processed foods with real food. Shop the perimeter. There's all those things. They've kind of become trite and cliche, but they're the truth.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Do you want more details on that? Do we need to dive
No,
deeper?
I think that's great.
Okay. Because there's so many. My goodness, there's so many things that we could do. For instance, the one that I see that's a lot of calories are consumed in liquid in our culture. In particular, fructose, high fructose corn syrup. And I can't remember the exact amount, but it's more than 20% of calories, I think, right now are consumed in fructose by Americans. And what if once a day you replace one of those 40 or 60 gram containers of soda, Coke, soda, whatever you call it around here, with water? And I've done this example before. If this was a Coke that had 40 grams of sugar in it, 1, 2, I would be putting this many, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's just with 40. I've seen a root beer, a 20-ounce root beer with 70 grams of sugar. That's 19 scoops of sugar. What if just one of those you replace a day with water? So that's the inch-by-inch example, and something that I see that would be very easy to implement for a lot of people. Just one. I'm not even asking you to throw away all your soda. Just consider one.
So are you constantly educating the consumer, your customers, or is it just blended in? It's just part of what you're not trying to just sell products, but you're trying to also teach at the same time, right?
I hope so. I mean, that's the goal.
That seems to come naturally to you because you're so interested in it.
Yeah, it's interesting, Russ. Sometimes somebody will come in and say, "I have this issue. What supplement can I take?" And I'm like, "Whoa,
Supplements, jump ahead." Yeah.
no. How do you sleep?
Okay.
How are you eating? How are you moving?
Yeah.
Are you looking at the sun? I mean, there's like numerous questions. So no, it's not as. Believe me, supplements are called supplements for a reason because they supplement what your lifestyle is.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, we try to do that.
By the way, I think on different occasions for different things, you've done that for both of us.
Yeah.
Mine with cramping during bicycling,
and mine was adrenal fatigue that we kind of laid down the coursework for to get me out of that. So
My kids have really encouraged me in this. There are functional medicine certifications that I could take part in. And so I don't know if that's going to be part of the future, but there are some people practicing functional medicine, which would be more where you look at the body as not just one system, but as a whole. And I really love that part. I hope you notice that, especially when we talked
100.
about you. It's not just about, hey, take this supplement. It's about when are you eating? How are you sleeping? What's the intensity of your exercise? How are you thinking and meditating? All those things,
And are you selling everyone else's product, or do you have your own brand too?
Primarily, we resell national brands that I've vetted. It's really important in the supplements. In particular, you'll see supplements like online that the brands will come and go in a matter of months. Right. And so one of my companies that I sell out of Illinois, Now Foods, they've tested some of the supplements that you purchase online. And like the CoQ10, which a lot of people know about, if they've taken a statin drug, they'll usually know about that one, or for heart issues. Out of the 10 that were sold on Amazon, 8 of them had 50% or less of the label claim on it. 2 of them actually had 0 milligrams of CoQ10 in them. So I resell excellent national brands. And then I do have a couple of house brands, my own brands. Well, actually, I did have a hemp product, but I don't have that anymore because of liability insurance. It just got cost prohibitive. But and this is an example of taking a risk, is collagen is a really popular form of protein now that we don't eat in our culture a lot anymore. Especially when our parents were younger, people ate bone broth. They ate organ meats, i.e. what I did when I was a kid and what I do now, but most people still don't like liver and things like that. And so we don't eat collagen a lot. So we went ahead and made a collagen for ourselves and sourced it from a company who produces for national brands. And I invested in it I did a large investment, and I was scared. I didn't know if people were going to buy my brand and how it would do. But it was one of those things I'm like, you've got to take a chance and just see. And so now, this is our best-selling collagen by 2 to 1 over all the national brands. And the cool thing is that they get the quality out of ours, and it's 25% less as far as the retail cost to the national brands. And so we're still able to maintain a margin on this, but serve our customers with an excellent product. And so this has been really fun. And it's just, it's so cool to see your name on something that you own, and even my UPC has 62959 in it.
Oh,
so yeah,
awesome.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
I personally use this, and it's wonderful. I use it in my coffee and use it. That's probably the only place that I've used it, though, is my coffee. I don't think I've mixed it in with anything else.
I'd like to leave this one with you, and if you wanted to do hey, if you enjoyed the podcast to this point, and you saw Rob mention this, send your name and we'll send you get this multi-collagen. I don't know if you want to do that or not, but I'm going to leave it here for you to do whatever you want with.
That sounds great.
Cool. Well, small town business, right? From the very beginning till now, and you said 15 years?
Well, I've owned it for 15.
You've owned it for 15, okay. So what kind of support have you received from being in small town? Because I think there's still some people that think, well, we just don't have the market here for my business and what I want to do. So talk through some of that.
Listen, I am so thankful to live in Marion in particular. Jennifer Olson over at the city treated me like I owned a huge franchise when I walked in there, and I appreciate that. Many other small business owners that come and do business with us because hey, I'm a small business. I want to do business with you. It's just so fun when you get that kind of support from your community. Mm-hmm. And then the other kind of support is just the people that have stayed faithful to us through all the ebbs and flows, especially through the pandemic, and thanking us for being here. So I love that part about it too. Those are the biggest ways that I can think about the support that we receive. But I mean, this is an example of it too. I mean, here I am, just a little hole in the wall business, and I get to be on a podcast that y'all produce.
We get to have you on the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. I just mean it. It makes me feel really special, and I'm grateful to get to be here.
Well, what do you have any specific like tactical resources that have really helped you along the way of being a business owner?
Tactical resources. Help me a little bit more with that question, Allison.
That's Allison's military question.
Yeah.
I've learned that from being...
those tools in your tool
Yes.
belt,
Okay.
tactical, like hands-on, whether it's, software systems that make the QR code pricing easier.
Okay. I got you. Thank you. Yes. We are pretty low tech. If you'll notice something here, this is pretty crazy. I still actually use a price gun. And we're probably to that place where we're about to do a point of sale system. But one of the tactics for a small business, especially at first, is to be mindful of the dollars and how you spend them. Because at first, I took a loan to purchase this business. And now 15 years later, the business, I would guess, is about worth 10x of what we invested in it at that time. And so now I can spend some dollars on an office picture, on sticky notes instead of cutting up paper, but at first we didn't. And so we're still fastidious about knowing what's coming in and going out. But I don't have fancy software to do it, and you don't really have to have that, although I think it would be helpful for us. And so that's been very helpful for us, as a business at least, is to be mindful of the dollars that are coming in and out. And then the way that we purchase is not completely, but it's different than a lot. I purchase everything for cash, and so I own my inventory. And so that keeps us from having to float month to month, and so that's reduced the cost. And I take advantage of opportunities when we get reduced wholesale pricing so that I can pass that along to the customer and stay relevant, And I think that's been a big help to us, because I know a lot of small businesses in our industry will price it at full retail and try to get that great big margin. But it really makes it hard for people who want to support a local business, but the pricing's maybe a little bit more than what they feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So those are some money issues. And then the other tactical thing is always put people before profit. And the way that looks is not just about pricing, but, and I share this humbly and gratefully, is that when people, like I remember an individual from Carterville, and she lost her job. And she loved coming, but she didn't have an income coming in. I was like, until you get a job, your discount is this. And I gave her a card, and I said, just tell us when you get a job, and we can go back to, and that's one way you can show people that you value them more than money. And I mean, we try to do that, in lots of different ways consistently. So it's not just a story I'm telling. I mean, we try to do that consistently because people really are more important than profit.
That's awesome.
Do you ship any products, or do you have a subscription? You do.
We do ship. I don't have a subscription. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, most of our customers, I don't do any advertising online. Most of our customers are customers that we ship to are former customers who've moved away.
Okay.
Like, we still want to, so we'll put a nice little note in there and ship to them. So we're not terribly efficient at that, and it's a very tiny part of our business. And honestly, the reason we do it is just because we love those people and want to serve them. It's not to try and grow the mail order part, which I know is maybe short-sighted to some people that would listen, especially business owners, but that's just not my interest right now.
Do you think about the future? Do you have what's the next step?
Yeah, my hope is that my wonderful middle daughter, who is an RN and is very holistic minded and is excellent at herbals, would maybe come back and take this and turn it into her own thing. But if not, I don't know how that's going to look. We have a sister store over in Harrisburg that I licensed the name to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so that's the only place we've really expanded. We licensed our name to Good Life 2 over in Harrisburg.
How long has that been around?
Josh has been there 4 years, I think, now. Yep. So he's serving the
Nice.
Harrisburg community.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the future is, but I mean, I am envisioning that right now, that it might not include me, in
Yeah.
sometime in the future. You're
looking at.
But we want to serve the community. I want
Yeah.
somebody to. It needs to stay here. So we're going to
Yeah.
make sure that happens one way or the other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about?
We've covered the challenges, because, or I think by and large, is the online retailing. But
Yeah.
the other one that's a challenge, but I see shifting, is about interest in health and nutrition is improving, is increasing, and I think this is my proposition. I think it's because there's a little skepticism that has come in just because of the way large organizations have handled the pandemic. I think people are beginning to see it's not important, it's imperative that I take ownership in my health. And so we're seeing more interest, I'm seeing more interest, especially in baby boomers, in how can I be healthier apart from just pharmaceuticals, apart from just going to my doctor who serves me well. And so it's a challenge that I see opportunities in for us to help people to start going that way, because it's not mainstream yet. I'm still really fringe, I think, as far as a lot of things. But I see more and more people becoming interested in what can I do naturally to improve my health. I mean, look when you go at places like Kroger and there are natural sections and natural areas, or areas where you can get product like we have. And so I think more and more people are going that way. So that challenge is opportunity to help our community, to help our nation for that matter, because I mean, chronic disease is the largest killer of people in the United States.
Yep.
It's not any disease that we get from outside. It's those things that are created through lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a challenge that's going to be an opportunity. It is an opportunity right now for us.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to your younger self if you went back and started this again, if you bought the company?
Yeah.
Or what would you suggest to somebody that may want to follow that path?
I think I would say, Rob, is don't be afraid to take chances when you're young. These are when you can recover more easily, from a large loss. And so continue to look for ways that you can express passions that you have through business. Mm-hmm. And so I wish that I would have maybe been a little bit, when opportunity comes your way, you don't see it if you're not looking for it. Mm. And I think Thomas Jefferson said, opportunity looks a lot like work and is usually dressed in overalls or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why most of us miss it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I would have said, Rob, train your eyes to continue to look for places of opportunity and places you want to express your interests and desires. Because I was looking for ways to make money, but I did it in ways that it wasn't as fun. We had a power sweeping business for a while, and it was just work. And it was nice to make things look pretty, but it didn't give me it wasn't passion. So I think I would encourage my younger self is look for places that you can express your interest in ways that you might be able to monetize so that it's not work.
Yeah.
And you can be passionate about it.
Yeah. Well, your daughter has a wonderful business mentor in you. A wonderful father, I would say, but I think that's awesome that you're able to help her too.
I really like it. And she thanks me. Sometimes I feel like I don't offer anything. She says, Dad, that's exactly what I needed. Yeah. And sometimes it's just an ear to listen to, right? Yeah. I mean, with my wife, I'm always trying to fix it. And I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better at just listening.
Jess is a sweetheart. So,
she is.
Yeah.
The last thing, or not the last thing, but one thing, did you ask me about my number one resource? Like, what's the number one resource in your business? Mm-hmm. I didn't mention, I really think this is important, and everybody knows this, but is to have employees who feel valued and like it's a team, and that they work together as a team, even apart from you. And that's what I love about our business, is right now all the employees are female, and almost everybody's part-time. My manager is the only person who's full-time. And so it's so cool to watch them work together on schedules, to when somebody's ill or somebody has some challenge in their life, is the way that they encourage and build each other up. And so I'm really grateful that we've been able to build a team where they care about each other. It's not all my doing at all. I mean, it's primarily my manager and the team that do it for each other. We've created an environment where that's encouraged, but That's my number one resource, honestly, because when people feel valued in their job, then they can value and help other people more naturally at work. And so I
100%.
think that's our number one resource. I hope that you see that when you come in.
Absolutely.
Well, we are grateful to have you.
Yeah. How do people find you? Yeah.
Well, Good Life Nutrition Company at Good Life NutriCo on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, physically we're located in the parking lot in front of Rural King's, what I call it. I tease that Sammy owns Just One More, and they're down there kind of put some stuff in livers that maybe isn't so healthy, and we're on the other end balancing out and helping the livers get healthy. So we're in that same strip mall as Just One More. And so that's where we're located, and we're open 6 days a week, closed on Sunday. Don't ever plan to stay open on Sunday.
Awesome.
Rob Landis, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Russ.
This was fun.
Thank you, Al.
Enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rob Landis of Good Life Nutrition. Thank you for being here. Thanks to our sponsors and our listeners and watchers for just making Small Town Big Business a really exceptional podcast that we believe here that supports our small town businesses. Thank our sponsors, once again, Arcadia Wealth Group, Fowler Heating and Cooling, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Black Diamond RV and Harley Davidson, Swinford Media Group, Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals, and our producers at Union Street Arts, especially Luke O'Neill. Thank you so much, Luke. If you want to know more about Ethos, co-working spaces, small business incubator, and also training and development, you can contact me, Russell, at watermarkethos.org, or look for us online at ethosmarion.org.
And again, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, I'm your host, Allison Hassler.
And I'm Russ Williams.
Thanks for listening.